like big?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and talk about the OPT process. And then I will also show you our OPT website and give you time to ask some questions. So applying for OPT is pretty easy, but also can be a little bit tricky. So we're just going to kind of walk through the steps for starters. The first thing is to complete your OPT request for DTS. This is a electronic form, a Ninja form. So Hui, you've done a few Ninja forms for CPT, and then Win, you've probably done a couple. So it's just one of those. And we get this so that we can input all the information into SEVIS, the Student Exchange Visitor Information System for you guys. The next thing you're going to do is complete the form G1145. This is basically your electronic notification that you're applying for OPT, and you will have to submit that. And then the other thing you have to fill out is the form I-765. This is your application for your EAD card. Something to remember about this is it's pretty detailed. We give you on our website instructions on how to fill it out, what parts to fill out and what parts not to, because it's different since you guys are just applying for OPT. And then you will have to mail this in. It's important to have someone just look over it to make sure the information's correct and double check it, because small errors can cause it to come back and you'll have to refill it out. And then you're gonna have to mail the complete OPT packet. So that is your 2 forms, your check that goes with it, a copy of the front of your I-20, of your passport and of your visa. And so there's a whole checklist for that on the website also. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the OPT timeline. You can start applying for OPT 90 days before your program end date and up to 60 after you graduate, but you'll need to apply sooner than that 60 days because they have to receive the application before 60 days after graduation. So if you guys are graduating in December, you can start applying mid-October. That's around your 90 days, so just calculate that. But when you mail in your documents, make sure it's within 30 days of sending your request into DTS. So if you don't want us to put in the request immediately, but you want to do it today, go ahead and just like type a note, a memo in the notes section to tell us what day you want us to fill that out. Because if we put it into SEVIS more than 30 days before they receive your packet, it'll get denied. So be sure to do that. The other thing is your OPT start date has to be within 60 days of your program end date after graduation. It can't start after that or before you graduate. So sometimes it can take a while to get your EAD card and you can't work until you have your EAD card. So you may want to put a few days after graduation. Don't forget there's 2 holidays, so maybe after the 1st of January. Be intentional about that so that you can get the most out of your OPT. Your OPT does last for 12 months, and your last day is on the day that your EAD card expires, or your OPT program end date. They should be the same. If they're not, it's your EAD card. It's kind of the trump card. Whatever your EAD card says is your last day. And then after that, you have a 60-day grace period where you can either leave the US, transfer to a different school, or change your status. So that's kind of the timeline. Do you guys have any questions about the timeline? Okay. Some important information. You must file your OPT within the permitted period of time. So within that 90 days before or 60 days after, and they need to receive your documentation within that time. So if you send it on day 59 after your graduation, they're not going to receive it then. So make sure it's 10 to 15 days before that. The USCIS must receive your OPT request within 30 days of the request being entered in the SEVIS. That's the thing that I was telling you about, to make sure that when you tell DTS you're requesting OPT, you mail that paperwork in within that 30-day window. You can pick a program start date that's no later than 60 days after your program end date. So if you're done on the 17th of December, you can go until the 16th of February would be the latest you can set up a program start date. You do not need to have employment in order to apply for OPT. So if you don't have a job lined up yet, that's okay. You can go ahead and apply, talk about the type of job you're gonna look for, and then go from there. And then you can only accrue 120 days of unemployment. So like I said, you don't have to have a job yet, but you can only not have a job 120 days after your OPT start date. So if you picked January 1st, you have 120 days from January 1st. So keep that in mind. And we will follow up with you if we see that you're accruing unemployment, or if you're having trouble finding a job, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll do what we can to help you. You also cannot begin working until you have received your EAD card in the mail. So if your OPT gets approved for January 1st, but you don't receive your EAD card until January 3rd, you can't start working until January 3rd. OPT lasts 12 months, and you must end OPT on or before your OPT program end date. That's the same date listed on your EAD card. And then you have a 60-day grace period to either leave the USA, not UPS, the USA, or you can transfer to another school, which I know some of you want to do. So just keep that in mind. You have a 60-day grace period window to do that. On-campus housing during OPT. On-campus housing is given priority to current DTS students, and so since you're graduating and doing OPT, you won't make the priority list. You cannot request a lease extension due to OPT, or you can request it, I'm sorry, but it's not a guarantee. This has to go through the housing office. And just keep in mind when you're thinking about requesting this extension for housing, leases are only granted from August to July, and with special permission, they end in December. So if you picked a February start date for OPT, you won't be able to live in campus after December. So just keep that in mind. And you're responsible for finding housing in that interim period. Obviously, reach out to us if you're in a pickle, but just keep that in mind. And then all requests for housing during OPT have to go through the housing office. So you guys will work with Sarah Chappelle, who's the director of housing, and then Sarah Helzovich, who does the admin on that. So they'll be able to help you with that more. And then this is a relatively new thing, but as a student, you're not responsible for updating any of your information in SEVIS. But as an OPT student employee, you will have to do this. And so once you get approved for your OPT, you'll receive information to log into your SEVIS portal. It's called SEVP. And if you don't get this information, contact us very quickly. So once you hear back that you're approved, you should get the information. If you don't, let us know so that we can get you logged in and set up. If you ever get yourself logged out or forget your password, also let us know so we can help you get the credentials you need to log in. And then keep track of the login information that you did have. Like I said, there are ways to get it a second time, but you'll want to be able to update this stuff quickly. So just keep track of it. Quickly update your SEVP portal. With any changes, that includes beginning employment, ending employment, changing jobs, moving, changing addresses. It's super important to keep that stuff updated. And then let us know of any changes. So if you change employment, just contact us, let us know so that we're aware. Or if you move, let's say you get a job in Boston, we want to know where you're at. And we're still here for you even if you moved across the country. And then just some important takeaways. Number one, get your OPT request into DTS as soon as possible and into the USCIS as soon as possible, because it can take 60 to 120 days for them to process OPT and get you a response. So the sooner you get it in, the more likely you are to get your information back quickly. Choose your start date intentionally. So think about housing, think about flights to your home country, school start dates. If you're going to transfer schools, consider all of those things when you're choosing your start date. And then also think about whether or not you'll be able to get your EED card in time to start. So just consider those things. Update your SEVP record when you begin employment. So as soon as you start employment, go ahead and update it so that you have 0 days unemployment. If you forget to do that and you're at 119 days, let us know because we can backdate it, but we don't want to have to do that. And so just go ahead and try to update that quickly. And then keep DTS updated with any changes to your OPT. If you decide to go home early, let us know. If you decide to just transfer schools in the middle, whatever it is, just keep us updated. You have to leave the US within 60 days of your OPT end date. This is the same as a grace period after graduation, so just keep that in mind. Be prepared for that. And then reach out to us if you need anything. So we're here to help, and just because you graduated doesn't mean we're not here. So be sure to reach out for us with anything. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. And do you guys have any questions about that?
Can you explain again about so there's a 90-day period that you have to submit your OPT request during that 90 days. Any earlier than that, it will not be processed. And there's also the 60-day period that you have to do something. Like I'm not getting that one.
Okay, so the way that it works is, let's say that your program end date is December 15th. Then you can mail in your OPT packet to the USCIS by October 14th. No, October 16th. So that's the earliest they will receive it. Make sure before they receive it, you've told DTS so that we can input that information into CVIS for you. And so everything's all set.
Yeah.
If you decide, if you're unsure about OPT, what you want to do, you still have 60 days after graduation to still apply for OPT.
Yeah. Okay.
And Julie, you put everything up on the website. I was going to post back up, go back to your PowerPoint.
Yep.
And it really is this one chart that really does explain, as you think about everything, everything that's there. So I'm going to see if I can do this, or I can annotate. I can. So right there, that's graduation.
Yeah.
So you really want to do this before graduation. And
yeah.
I know we say 45 days. You could do it up to 45 days after graduation. That gives you 2 weeks. Don't do it. As strongly as we can say, apply for OPT before you graduate. And then you got up to 60 days afterwards to figure out, gain all your employment figured out, those types of things.
Yeah.
And you pick your OPT start date for within that 60-day window after graduation.
Yeah.
And also, I would strongly agree with Dr. Hillman's comments. Do not apply after graduation, because now USCIS is not fully functioned as it was. So it may slow down a little.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, Wynn?
Yes, sorry. So on there it said that we can apply for within 90 days before graduation, right? So which means the end day, the program end day on December 18, which means market 3 months back would be September 18. Any day after that, and we can start applying for OPT. Is it correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one.
Yep. So you should be able to go ahead and start now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just clarify. Yeah.
And I was just going to say the thing as I've watched students wrestle with this, besides applying early, it's housing. It's thinking through the housing, especially for you because you're graduating middle of the year. Housing is literally only if they have availability. And even if they have availability, your lease would still end, so let's say you are starting in January or even February for your OPT and you have 12 months, but your housing will end and you will be stuck without housing. And we have a couple of students that's happened to in the past, and it's just very difficult. So think through your housing, especially, is something to consider. And I was going to say as well, just like Julie said, or Julie texted or put in the chat, everything is on the website. Everything we've got is on the website, links to every one of the forms to fill out, a video to watch you, to tell you how to fill out the form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again.
So can I ask a clarify question, Dr. Human?
Yes.
Yeah, so which mean because our lease end in December, for example, if our OPT card not come in until, for instance, like beginning of February, which mean we still need to move out of housing by the end of December, like by the end term of it, and then kind of be there's a gap between. So or maybe I can talk that with housing, try to figure it out. I mean, I don't know.
Well, again, yeah, you have to figure out, because again, housing, their priority is filling apartments for a year.
Right.
That is their priority. And so you do not want to be in a situation where you're trying to cobble together your housing. So again, that's why, especially if you're thinking about, if you are remotely thinking about living on campus during OPT, it is totally dependent on housing and if they have availability, and you will want to apply for OPT as soon as possible and have everything lined up as soon as possible. And then you would just need to know that your lease ends at the end of December.
Sure.
Also keep in mind that if your OPT doesn't get approved, you're still responsible for that lease through the DTS housing office. So it's something you may just want to talk to them about, the process and all of that. And they really are trying to fill the housing for a year. So just keep all of that in mind as you're considering it.
Sure. Thank you. That's a very good point, Katie. Thank you. And thanks, Dr. Human. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. This is the DTS OPT website, just so you can look at it. If you go to students.dts.edu and click international students, it's one of the links at the bottom. But Julie also put a link to it in the chat, so thanks, Julie, for that. And it has the general information that you need, what makes you eligible or not, some of the important information we covered, the timeline so you can come look at it again, and then the steps. We also have links to the Homeland Security website and all of the forms. This is the DTS request form. This is the e-notification you need to fill out. And this is your EAD card application. And then here's the link. So I just wanted you guys to have a look at it. And then this is the 5th step, which is mailing in the complete OPT packet. So when you're going through this, make sure you check everything off and make sure you have everything in before you mail it. And that the address you send it to, you will still be at, or you will have somebody at when you get it. So if you're moving off of campus, don't use your campus address so that you actually get the information. And that's everything I have. So if you guys have any more questions.
At this moment, I don't think so. Unless later when I fill out the application, if more question, then I'm probably gonna ask you guys about it. But it's very clear. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting all of that together, the PowerPoint, the steps and everything. So yeah, appreciate it.
And don't hesitate to come by and see Katie or me, either
Yeah.
either one of us. We'd love to help out any way we can.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Like Dr. Hillman said, we're here if you need anything. If you think of questions later, email me, email Dr. Hillman, email Julie if you like her, but she doesn't work with OPT, but she does know everything. So
Julie
if
does
you're
know.
helpful.
Julie knows everything, and if you email me, I'm just going to forward it to Katie. So
You go. Funny. Alright.
But if there's no more questions, I won't hold you guys. So feel free to head out. And thanks for coming. Again, we're here if you need anything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem.